what an absolute fun and pleasure it's going to be on this segment here on the Sports Cubicle with the marvelous one, Dan Marver, Devin Tingle, Paul Shavari, and myself, Mike Mercado. Devin, once again, outdid himself to make sure we class up this joint here on the Sports Cubicle to make sure that our street cred goes up. Dev, what do you have in store for us today?
Well, I love you guys, but seeing just the three of you in the office every week just gets really damn boring. So I decided, I got reached a little bit, and I went on this little app called TikTok, and I saw an ad for this really nice movie. It's a nice small documentary. It's called Adapt, and I actually have the director, Michael Roth, joining us in the office today. So, Michael, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
So, Michael, I guess I'll ask the obvious question. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about Adapt and what inspired you to make this movie?
Yeah, sure. So Adapt is basically a year's look, a school year's look at Special Olympics athletes and their coaches, and coming back from the COVID regulations and whatnot. That was just like a sub part of it, but I just wanted to capture, the day-to-day for the coaches that make it happen for these athletes, and follow them and their families around, the course of a year to see, what it takes to be a Special Olympics athlete and to be a Special Olympics coach. Why I started it was I've been a Special Olympics coach going on 10 years, for children in the school district setting about 7 or 8 years.
Marver, you are somebody who is always in the bloodstream of these high school sports, these young men and women who are, going to be these next crop of college athletes and in the workforce and learning so many lessons. Marver, when you hear somebody like Mike Roth, the amazing work that he's doing with so many of our amazing athletes that get overlooked because of circumstances they have no control over, Marver, what do you got?
I mean, it's a marvelous idea because, they have the Special Olympics and all that other stuff going on, but this topic is near and dear to my heart because I do have some relatives that have special needs. So, and by the way, Dev, you went on TikTok, look out for the Chinese hackers. Anyway, what exactly, give us a little synopsis as to what we'll be looking for in the film.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we follow two coaches throughout their day-to-day and what they do during the school day, and then also how they coach Special Olympics during the day and then after in their own personal time. We follow two families of athletes that are participating in the Special Olympics, and just we get their backstory. We get a synopsis of what it takes to raise a child with special needs and what that entails, and the ups and the downs of all of that. Ups being some of the scenes that we have of the Special Olympics, and then we followed an administrator as well, two administrators as well, to get their story. So we have like every point of view on that and what it takes to really help these kids with special needs and get them the best quality of education and of sports training to their level.
So when you're creating this idea, right, you got this brainstorm coming in, you kind of have an idea of what, because you've been behind the scenes already. You already know what you're looking into.
Yes.
How is it when you're seeing this, to how invested you get into these people? Because they're not characters. They're not people that you were able to write down on a script. These are real human beings. These are real parents. These are real student athletes. These are inspirational stories. And how fast was it that line became blur up? It was already a passion project, but it's beyond now just going to be on camera, that you've grown fond of all these people in this movie and that you were with day to day.
Yeah. So the last 10 years, it was just really this past year and a half that I really kind of had to take it and look at it through a different lens, figuratively and like literally. But the past 10 years, getting to meet people that are involved with the Special Olympics, because I was originally a volunteer coach for the adult programs, and I loved it so much that I just kind of wanted to make it my career. So I got recertified. My background is in production, right? I worked for ABC for a little bit. And so I was just kind of getting burned out by that. And so I re-qualified. I became a teacher because I love coaching, Special Olympics on my own time. So might as well make it a career, right? And so over the course of that 10 years, like I still am in contact with some of the families that no longer, they aged out, and went to a different program, or, they just got burnt out, with COVID or whatever, and they didn't, rekindle or re-up their Special Olympics, they didn't get back into the sport or whatever. So I still talk to them personally every day. So actually trying to separate that was one of the most difficult tasks. So what I did with it is I kind of kept my own personal experience at arm's length. I knew, I was still coaching during this time, and I was still teaching during this time. I would take off and take personal days and go out and follow the other coaches and the athletes and whatnot. And so doing that from someone that maybe I didn't necessarily interact with on a daily basis was helpful, because I could kind of, be more objective in the way that I filmed those families and those coaches and stuff. But some of the subjects in there are my personal friends. So it was a hard task to do, to be objective and to be like a documentarian and really kind of just not put your spin on it. What I learned is that you're ultimately, as someone that's documenting, a year's worth of footage, you're gonna get your favorite parts and you're gonna put your spin on it. But trying to be as objective as possible is always the goal.
We're going to get to Dev in just a second, and Marver with some more great question, but to kind of just spin off what you were talking about, Mike, how often or how surprising was it when something went home with you, good or bad? Somebody having a triumphant moment, or somebody having the ups and downs of sports and life in general. How often did this come home to you, whether and impacted other projects, maybe just how much of that, how often did that happen in this journey?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the core of it, that's ultimately why I did this film, right? Because all of those moments and all those experiences that I had over the course of, 10 years really had a profound impact on my life. It made me more empathetic. It made me have, better patience. It made me just kind of look at, the struggles of, the human condition or whatnot, and kind of learn from those. The triumphant moments are always the ones that keep you going. It's what fills your cup. And the ones that aren't, the best at times, you just kind of go through that and do your best to help, with that situation, how you can help with that situation. And that is definitely something I also learned as well, that throughout the ups and downs, you just got to stay positive and do what's best for the kids and for the program.
Dev?
So, Michael, I know you say a lot of these guys were, some of your friends, some of your kids that you coach, but I'm just kind of curious, what was the reaction when you're like, hey, I want to make a movie, or a documentary, I should say, about you guys? Like, how did they react? Their parents react? Because you can't just go and shove a camera in someone's face, but like, don't worry, you'll see the finished product here. So I'm just like, what was every, one's reaction? You're like, hey, I want to make a movie about you guys. So
that was a huge part of selling it. And, at first I was a little cynical that, everyone would be getting on board with this, and I was going to have to fight a little bit, to try to get this to come to fruition, to my pleasant surprise, like everybody was on board. Everybody, it just kind of synced up perfectly with the support that I had with the district that I'm, a part of, Northeast ISD out of San Antonio. I'm originally from Chicago, but moving to Texas and being in San Antonio and having an opportunity to be a part of that program, which is probably one of the best in the country, which is, another highlight of this film. When it comes to adapted physical education. So that's like your day-to-day teaching the kids in like the gym class, and then also your Special Olympics. And that's, the sports where, the kids would have to go get physicals. They would have to have their parents sign off and, do all that stuff and be a part of a program that's in the schools, but it's also separate from the schools. You know what I mean? So that being said, everyone, including the Special Olympics, including the district, was so supportive from the get-go. Like I would go in kind of saying, oh, this is what we got to do, guys, and we have to make it happen this way, and would that be okay? And they're just like, absolutely, man, just go for it, and that was an example of support that I've never actually experienced in my life. So it takes a village, and specifically for this project, it took a village, and it really was a breath of fresh air with all the support that I got, in the process of getting this going and in pre-production, through production, and now in post-production. The support just never ends. It's a fantastic thing.
Marvelous.
I mean, all in all, it sounds like a good idea. Have you done other such features, or you have any more planned in the future?
Yeah. So I started off, like I said, I worked for ABC for a while. I was a morning newscaster. I was the morning producer. So I'd write, scripts, time shows, make sure that it was all blocked out correctly and stuff like that. So that was my background. But I did a couple, mini documentaries in college and whatnot. The one that I bit off at the end of my college career, moving into, my professional career, was an independent film about my uncle and film theory. And, it was just more of like a heartfelt piece, for my uncle. That played in a couple festivals, but didn't get, it wasn't as good. Like you're learning as you go, right? So like as you progress and as you do more projects like this, you just get better and better at it. You learn that you can't control everything. You have to delegate to other people that know better than you do. So with that, first film, it was a crash course in this, and this one is kind of the one where it's just like, this is my, love note to Special Olympics and just, how it's affected, my life and how it affects others, and, why it should be at the forefront, in my opinion, of, what people think about when it comes to athletics and whatnot, because, through this, one of the programs that we started was, having it was called, well, we didn't start, but we adopted this year, was having it be unified, where like the general education kids work alongside the special needs kids, and they play as a team together. You know what I mean? And that's becoming more and more serious, and the competitions are becoming, better and better. I mean, the general kids learn from our special needs kids a lot, and then when it comes to like the physicality of the sport, they teach our athletes quite a bit as well.
Mike Roth joins us here on the Sports Cubicle with the marvelous one, Dan Marver, Devin Tingle, Paul Shivari, myself, Mike Mercado. It is called Adapt. What a great project you guys are have been embarking on. And I want to kind of keep going on the direction you were going on. Personally, my wife is a Sika teacher, so it's really interesting to see kind of all these roads collide. And I think you bring up something that I kind of want to go down this rabbit hole of introducing general education to general students with our special needs students, our special needs athletes, kind of the learning from different sides of the same coin. What has that been for you? The growth. We talk about a village, building this up. What has that been from, let's say you start 10 years ago from this journey, right? Then from where this movie is, how crazy, how exponential, how fast has the growth been from people educating themselves, from people being more willing, more accepting? Has it changed a lot? Has it not? Where are you on that? Because I feel like much more now than ever, it's no longer like for being cynical, a tax write-off or a gimmick. This is something important. This is big business. We're talking about even for special needs athletes, we're talking about, athletes still. Have you noticed that big change in everything?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, ultimately, like the new Woody Harrelson movie, stuff like that, that's shining light on Special Olympics and stuff like that. Champions, I believe it's called, and stuff for that nature. You really wouldn't have seen that about 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So it's growing. People are becoming more aware of that. These kids with special needs, like it's adapted to their skill level, but at that skill level, they're competing at a high level. You know what I mean? For whatever, and then a lot of the athletes, they progress throughout those tiers of competition, and the ultimate goal is being at the top tier of that competition. Those are the ones that you see. Those are the athletes you see that are at the World Games or at the United States, Invitational and stuff like that. And it is serious athleticism. You know what I mean? And I think that's the beautiful thing about the Special Olympics and programs like we have at our school, not our school, but our district, when it comes to things outside of Special Olympics, when it comes to, physical education, is that we realize that that's a huge part of a person's identity and their self-esteem and being able to accomplish something that they weren't able to accomplish before, really drives the point home that it's a great thing for our kids. And to backstep and talk about like the general kids, working with our kids, you see a lot. We have a program called PALS in our district, and basically outside of Special Olympics, they help with the Special Olympics in our district, but outside of the Special Olympics, you see these kids that that wouldn't really normally have an outlet at maybe other districts. Now they're friends, with these kids, and it's just it's just a normal friendship. You know what I mean? They literally came together through the love of a certain sport, or the want to help someone learn a sport, and through that they've really kindled these relationships and have grown into legitimate friendships that maybe wouldn't be around 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Because this wasn't offered to, let's say, a general education student to be a part of, and now it is, and more it's just growing, becoming more mainstream, becoming there's less of a stigma with hanging out with kids that had special needs. I know when I grew up, I always did, but like there was always a group of kids that maybe wouldn't, because they thought it was below them, or whatever their reasoning was at the time. It wasn't warranted. You know what I mean? And now I see with the younger generation, there's not that. You know what I mean? Like it's more of a point of honor, or a point of just empathy, or just, hey, I just want to be friends with someone, regardless if they're different from me slightly.
It's amazing. That's why people like all the teachers, the Sika teachers, people like you teaching and showing this. And shout out to Devin for making this connection. And I wanted to make this point. My final question before we throw to Devin and Marver's final ones. I kind of wanted to bring this point up and get your thoughts on it. Kids these days get a bad rap, and it's tough for them. There's a lot of things going on, from social media to pharmaceutical stuff to stuff. Just it's a crazy world, and kids have to grow fast. But when I hear people like you spotlight both the general education kids and the awesome special needs kids and athletes, and how awesome they are and how much they just surprise us. And I hear stories from my wife from just how, for you, these years, talk about the greatness that sometimes we see from these kids that just sometimes outdo us cynical adults that kind of place those things onto them.
Well, it really kind of just kind of diminishes that in a sense, you know what I mean? Because you do get to see the nicer side of what these kids are actually about. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids these days are joiners. They want what's best for their community. They want what's best for their peers, that being, kids with special needs as well. You know what I mean? And I think that's relatively new, like a new idea. Not new. I mean, Special Olympics has been around. They've been advocating for this for a while, but I think, the general, you get a school and you afford these children an opportunity to do something like our district does. And you're going to see that the benefits are going to outweigh any of the negatives that could come from it. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, I just think that, the kids, I'm amazed by all of our students, the athletes and the pals, all of them. They're just doing a fantastic job. And it's just a really heartwarming thing to see, friendships blossom from this.
Marver?
Yeah, I'm really tuning into this. This is great. My wife's a special ed teacher, and I actually have a son with special needs. And so anything that can really give them that extra boost of their morale is so outstanding. And I applaud you for showing this film.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Devin, you want to go ahead and bring us home with this final question? This has been amazing. And shout out not only to Mike Roth for the work he's doing and this entire team and all the student athletes, but to you, Devin, for spotlighting this here in Chicago. I know this is a city that desperately would love to do some of this stuff too. And, you talk about Mike being a local kid. That's something that, it's great. So Devin, what you got?
If I can hop in for 1 second, Chicago Please. Is actually, right by Soldier Field. You have the Eternal Flame for Special Olympics. Chicago is one of the cornerstones of Special Olympics. So shout out to Chicago for always being progressive when it comes to helping people with special needs. And I think that's where I learned a lot of this from my hometown, Berwyn, but we'll call it Chicago.
Hey, I Berwyn boy myself.
I
Hiawatha heritage. Morton.
Pershing and Morton, my friends. Yeah.
My goodness. See, this
Yeah.
is why you see behind the scenes of the Sports Cubicle, why this man was one of our guys, Mike Roth. Devin, what you got, buddy?
I guess, Mike, I'm going to ask you, I guess, two final questions. I guess the first one will be, what do you hope people take away from Adapt? And if people want to get involved with helping Adapt, get out to their schools, or if they want to get involved with Special Olympics, where can they go?
Yeah. So I'll answer the first part first. But I would say if you wanted, what I want people to take away from Adapt is that there's hope. There's hope for a lot of these young kids to do the right thing and to be supportive of people that maybe aren't on the same cognitive level that they are. You know what I mean? And to help them achieve their goals. And then also I want people to take away that it takes a village. You know what I mean? You look at the coaches that I've documented and the parents that I've documented, like those relationships are so intertwined to help the success of one student, and we're doing it on like a mass scale, you know what I mean, for the kids with special needs in our district. So I would want people to take away that, get involved, because you could change not only somebody else's life, but you can change yours as well. And then the second part of that question, I believe was, can you repeat it? I apologize.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, it's really important. You talk about the importance and the work you guys are doing. How are we going to get this initiative, this film, kind of going? Get the momentum behind it. What do we need to do? You talk about Chicago. Chicago's got your back. You're a local kid. What do the rest of us need to do? We love sports here. I mean, we'll stay up and wake up early to watch the World Cup and the World Baseball Classic. So what do we have to do to make sure some more sports, some pure sports hits us in the stream? What do we got to do?
So, for someone that is really into sports and maybe has a working knowledge of any sport, I mean, you can go and you can become a Special Olympics coach, and you can teach a group of kids that might not otherwise have the opportunity to learn that sport. And I guarantee you're going to be surprised at how much and how athletic that some of these kids are. You know what I mean? And like I said, there's different tiers to all of these sports. You know what I'm saying? So baseball, for instance, like, there's T-ball there, for the kids that may not have the hand-eye coordination or the speed to play it. But you get into like a hard softball, like we play in Chicago, right? Like you play softball. And I mean, the hand-eye coordination and the speed of that level of athlete is, I mean, I would put some of the teams up against some of these local teams in Chicago, if I'm being real with you, some of the adult teams at least. And that's no joke. You know what I mean? That's for real. Now, mix up the teams, go unified. You know what I'm saying? So I think, something like that, just thinking outside of the box and reframing your perception of things can really get a lot of people involved in sports, whether coaching or playing alongside these athletes.
Mike, it's time to stop being modest, all right? Because now we've seen the game plan on how to get momentum going to get people involved. But now we need to get people involved, okay? How do we get this thing going? How do we get it to more movie theaters, get it to people's hands, get it to streaming, get it to all these different things, the notoriety it deserves? How do we get Adapt to the peoples, even more peoples?
So I would say if you wanted to donate to the cause of this film, you can find me. It's an open Instagram at @bad_Yeti, and in there the link in my bio has the GoFundMe, and I think that would be the fastest and easiest way. So @bad_Yeti_, and you go on my profile, you hit the link in bio, and it gets you to the GoFundMe, and that's going to pay for the rest of the post-production costs that we've incurred. And that's going to also get us into be able to get us into festivals, and that all costs money. That all costs money to get into those festivals, to market to those festivals, whatnot. And that's the plan. So once we start getting into these film festivals, from there it just kind of takes a life of its own. But getting initially into the festivals and paying for that, and that, like I said, that all costs money, and that's what the GoFundMe is for. And we've had a lot of support up until now. We're about halfway to our mark. But I would like to say that any cost that is, made from this film. We have to recoup those costs, but the majority of what comes out of this, I would like to give back to, the school district and Special Olympics. So
Chicago, you heard it. You heard your boy. You heard our guy. You see how personal it is to Mike. You know how personal it is to Marver, myself, to Devin, to all of us, how personal it should be for all sports fans. And also, one of our own is asking for a little bit of help for a great project, for a quality project. So we'll make sure we put all the links that you can help out Mike in the description below of this interview. And of course, on the description of the show later on next week. But with that, a shout out to you, Mike Roth. The movie is Adapt. You're doing amazing work. Thank you so much for joining us. You're amazing. Any last words for your people of Chicago?
Yeah, I just really appreciate it, guys. And like I said, Chicago is the home of Special Olympics. So let's show the rest of the world, what we can do. And if you have any interest in it, you can go to SOTX. Sorry, that's for Texas. If you can go to specialolympics.org.
Specialolympics.org, and we'll make sure. What was once again the Kickstarter and your Instagram one more time for the peoples?
Yeah, so bad_Yeti, and I will get you a link for the GoFundMe that you can put in there, but I don't have the exact link right now.
No, you're the man. We'll make sure the magic of the internet. We'll make sure that the people can support our guy Mike Roth. The movie is Adapt. Shout out to the one and only Devin Tingle for the marvelous one, for Dan Marver, for Paul Shivari. I'm Mike Mercado.